Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi, kids. Welcome to The Fight. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew. Wah, wah.
Yeah, that is Andrew. That's all we need to say.
He's a Bears fan. I'm Randy. Wah, wah. I was
it
a
was
Bears
so
fan.
hard to get here today, Randy.
They were playing the Rams.
I know. It was so hard to wake up this morning and say, I'm going to sit here and talk to Randy for an hour. And at some point in time, that team that I don't want to talk about is going to be talked about.
So when he starts crying at some point during the show, just randomly, please forgive him.
Or at least go into meditation with me.
Coming up, what does Ollie Marmol hope to get out of J.J. Weatherholt this year? The NFL coaching carousel is really spinning now, and our list is the greatest college championship games ever. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And Andrew, as Forrest Gump would say, the Blues are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. On Friday, the Blues had snapped Tampa Bay's 11-game winning streak with a 3-2 shootout win at home. Jordan Kyrou scored the winner in the shootout, and Joel Hofer earned the #1 star honors with 32 saves. Well, last night, the Blues went to Edmonton and were down 3-0 to the Oilers after a period before falling 5-0. It's one of the most bipolar teams ever. Until they get consistent compete level, they aren't going to win. And there doesn't appear to be an answer with this particular group of players.
Who exactly are the Blues, you ask? They are exactly who we think they are. Inconsistent. Because you go and you take on the Lightning, the best team in hockey right now, and you deliver a shootout win. It looks like, hey, things might be trending up. We're going in the right direction. And then you go into Edmonton and you get blown out 5-0. And I know that Edmonton's a good hockey team, but just because they're a good hockey team doesn't mean you lose 5-0 to that team. This St. Louis Blues team has a lot that they need to work on. It was nice to see Dylan Holloway get back on the ice, but it's a really tough time to be a Blues fan.
And you saw Oscar Sundqvist leave the ice. He'll probably be out for a while. He's one of the few guys that does give reasonably consistent effort for the Blues. It's just a really strange team. I don't blame the coach at all, because the very same coach got the same group of players to play consistently well down the stretch last year. It's one of the most bewildering things that I've ever seen in sports. I just can't figure out, and I'm sure Jim Montgomery can't figure out, Doug Armstrong can't figure out what the heck they're going to get on a night-to-night basis. It's frustrating for me. I can't imagine how frustrating it is for the people who are running the team.
Still without a winning streak.
Yep. We'll get to the rest of the NFL in a moment, but as the Broncos beat Buffalo in overtime, Denver quarterback Bo Nix suffered a broken ankle late in the OT period. And Josh Allen had his worst playoff game, throwing 2 interceptions and losing 2 fumbles. Should the lack of a Super Bowl appearance reflect on Allen as a quarterback? And if the Broncos win, does that reflect on Nix? Would he be just a product of a system?
Well, can we start with Josh Allen here? And I want to ask Dan Marino, right? Dan Marino without a Super Bowl.
Never won a Super Bowl.
Does that reflect on him in terms of being viewed as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game?
It shouldn't. I know it does for people, but he never had a great defense. So it shouldn't, but it does. For whatever reason, people think that it's a one-man game.
Yeah, and for the Bills this year, it was a one-man game, because that's what Josh Allen delivered for his group. Just think about the 2 years ago Buffalo Bills and how much better Josh Allen would be in this playoffs if they had that really good defense and they had the weapons that they had when Josh Allen needed them to step up in a game like this.
I thought the one play with Allen was the end of the first half, the fumble at the end of the first half that led to the field goal. That was the one that was really careless. He had no chance on the fumble in the third quarter. The first interception, kind of iffy, but the last interception might not have even been an interception. I feel for the guy. He's somebody that everybody roots for and everybody is going to root for, but he might be running out of chances. He's going to be 30 next year.
And as for the Broncos, what was the question that you had asked regarding Nix?
Is Bo Nix a system quarterback? If Jared Stidham wins for them, like Jeff Hostetler did for the Giants in Super Bowl 25, is Jared Stidham the same thing as Bo Nix? Is Bo Nix just a system quarterback?
I don't think so. I think Bo Nix has showed us a lot this year as to why that he can be a standalone guy like the rest of the greats in college football, in the National Football League today. Is he Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen yet? No. Is he Drake May? He's probably pushing Drake May's status right now, and we all think Drake May is the next franchise quarterback up in New England. So I don't expect Jarrett Stidham to win this football game. If he does, great, but I still think Bo Nix is not a system quarterback.
College basketball over the weekend. How about St. Louis U? The Billikens blasted Richmond 88-63. Kellen Thames coming off the bench with 16 points to lead 5 Billikens in double figures. SLU now 17-1 overall, 3-0 in the A-10. They're really impressive. Mizzou fell to LSU 78-70, down 10 at halftime, got within 3 but couldn't get any closer. And the 13th ranked Illini handled Minnesota 77-67. They're one of the top teams in the country. And I think that before too long, Andrew, we're going to be looking at SLU as being thought of in that same realm as a top 15 type team.
I would agree. If you look at just where they kind of sit in the rankings, and I mean just whether it's net rankings or whether it's the KenPom rankings, they're doing exactly what you want them to do as they go into the second half and closer into tournament play. This is a team that not only wins at home, they destroy at home. This is a team that goes on the road and beats a team like VCU with I know it got close in that game, but it felt like a no sweat majority of the time. This SLU team is just a really good basketball team. As for Mizzou, they're a team that needs to work on a few things. One, you got to get Stone and Pierce more involved. They should take every shot. I know Mark Mitchell is the heart and soul of that group. Let Stone and Pierce take every shot and see what happens because they deserve the ball more. And Illinois is just too good for everybody else.
And right now, Mitchell is the only offensive player for Mizzou. Back to SLU for a second. Yeah, we can talk about how they aren't playing anybody, but one of the things that they can hang their hat on, there's only 4 teams in college basketball that have higher point differentials than SLU. All 4 of those are in the top 9. It's Michigan, it's Gonzaga, it's UConn. It's the best of the best that have point differentials that are better than St. Louis University. So congratulations to the Bills. The college football season ends tonight in Miami as top-ranked Indiana plays the Hurricanes. The unbeaten Hoosiers are an 8.5-point favorite, and if they win, it'll be Indiana's first ever championship. Miami has won 4. I just don't see a way, unless Indiana plays a B or C or maybe even a D game, that Miami can win this game. I think they can keep it close because they're so physical, but Indiana just doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, this starts and ends with Miami's defensive front. If they play like they have been playing over the last 3 weeks, then I'd say, okay, this is going to be a close game because that can give Fernando Mendoza a tough time back there in the pocket. As for if everything goes right for Indiana, if Mendoza is perfect like we've seen him be, if every skill position balls out for that team, that defense is just as good as Miami's defense. This game could also be a blowout. And that's just how simple this is to look at.
And baseball at the Cardinal winter warm-up over the weekend, Cardinal manager Ollie Marmol talked about how the Cardinals will utilize rookie J.J. Weatherholt's versatility.
There's versatility there. His mindset will allow him, in my opinion, to excel at any of those. It's a special mindset. It's one I continue to be impressed with. And in talking to Surf and guys that have had him, have been around him, it's just, there's a quiet confidence to him that is rare in young players. It just is. Like, there's confidence, and you can see certain guys there, but there's this, it's different. And it's, in my opinion, it's pretty special. I'm looking forward to seeing it on a daily basis. We saw some of it in spring, and the way he carried himself, and we talked about it, kind of what that looked like. But the way he carried himself in that spring, to be your first year up there and be around the big league guys and big league staff, showed a lot about what he's all about.
Here it is.
Weatherholt is a very confident guy. He's a natural second baseman. We would fully expect that he's going to play second base for the Cardinals. And I would be stunned, Andrew, if he isn't there on opening day. And I don't think he needs to use his versatility. I think the middle infield will be Mason Winn at short and J.J. Weatherholt at second.
I'm right there with you. This is a guy that's very mature. He kind of gives me Michael McGreevy vibes going into this season. The Cardinals asked McGreevy to kind of be a floater last year and, hey, come up when we tell you it's the right time to come up. It was kind of the same with the September call-ups of last season. J.J. Weatherholt, are they going to give him a chance to get called up at that point in time? They elected to not go that route and just wait until 2026. It would also shock me if he doesn't start at second base, but this is a guy with just a ton of talent. He has a lot of college time that worked up to this moment, and he's just playing some darn good baseball. He's a talented guy.
And by the way, he can be a face of the franchise type too. Mason Wynn is that guy. He won a Gold Glove. He picked that up last night at the writers' dinner. J.J. Weatherholt has that same sort of swagger, and so does Victor Scott. And Ollie Marmol told me over the weekend the big breakout that he expects this year from one of his players is from Victor Scott. So Cardinals might be pretty exciting up the middle as the 26th season unfolds. Hey, later in the show, we've got Risky Business. We're going to build a little parlay here in the fight. Stick around for that. But next up, our weekend highlights here in the fight. Time now for our takes on the weekend in the sports world. And Andrew, let's start with baseball and go back to the Cardinal skipper. At the Cardinal winter warm-up, manager Ollie Marmol was asked what he's looking forward to with the young Cardinals in 2026.
Learning how to win together. And there's going to be weeks that are frustrating that comes with youth. But, man, when you look at our group, it's not like you're pulling you got Nolan out of here and Wilson and Sonny, and it's guys that are reached to be up here. It's guys that belong up here, but just need the opportunity to play every day and show what they're capable of doing and learn from their mistakes. So our staff is built for that. Our staff is energized by where we are today and our ability to actually instill these qualities in them. So I'm excited about what's ahead. I'm excited to see Mason Wynns and the Victor Scotts and those guys just take a completely, just the next step in their careers. It's I don't know, it's a breath of fresh air.
Something the Cardinals wish they could have done last year, right?
Yeah.
They wish they could have gotten these guys going and given them even more runway in 2025. But now the time is here, and for a couple of these guys, I would think Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker specifically, it's kind of do or die for their careers as Cardinal guys.
Yeah, it's really important for these young Cardinals to experience the highs and lows of what a season can actually present to themselves. Because before, you could kind of lean on your experience. Mm-hmm. You could lean on Wilson Contreras or on Sonny Gray or on Arenado because those guys were been there, done that guys. But in order to get to where you want to go, you need these guys to either come together as a group if things aren't going well. If one player's in a slump, how does that other person in that tandem step up? How does Mason Wynn step up for J.J. Weatherholt in that moment and so forth?
To your point, and that was the first thing Ollie said, I want to see them learn how to win together, and they definitely need to learn how to win. And that's something that you do learn at the major league level. And because the Cardinals don't have a safety net, they don't have that veteran to fall back on like Andrew was talking about. These young players, they're going to have to sink or swim this year. And while we think about the Cardinals and we think about them being set in the starting rotation, John Heyman reported in the New York Post that the Cardinals have joined the Mets and the White Sox in pursuit of Chris Bassett, who's coming off a torn Achilles, suffered last year with the Mets. So this is another, if they get him, another smart move. A good pitcher where if he gives you good production up until the All-Star break, you could get something for him. Same thing with Dustin May. It's never a bad thing to collect assets that can provide you more young assets down the road.
And Chris Bassett has been around the block. Let's talk about that too and how much that can impact just your young starters in this rotation. You saw him in an A's uniform. You've seen him in a Blue Jays uniform. You can go down the list. He's been on winning teams. He's been on losing teams. He knows what it's like to play baseball in all stages of life. And so by having him in your rotation, one, yes, it's great for the deadline because if he is performing, there is a contender out there. Just like for Dustin May, they're going to come in, swoop in, and take this guy to add to that group. But it's also really nice to have for the Fitz, the Dobbins, the McGreeveys, even the Libbies right now to have a guy like him in your rotation.
Yeah, by the way, the voice of the Blue Jays, when Chris Bassett was there, Dan Schulman told me one time that PitchCom was the best thing to ever happen to him because he has 8 pitches and there weren't enough fingers on the catcher's hand to be able to call pitches. So
hold on, let me take off my mitt real fast.
Exactly.
Let's run this one right here, this play.
NFL in the divisional round of the playoffs. Last night, the Rams survived the Bears 20-17 in overtime. Bears coach Ben Johnson passed up an easy field goal to go for a touchdown in the first series of the game. The Rams stopped Chicago with an interception. Those 3 points would have made a difference. He just kicked the field goal. Caleb Williams threw 2 more interceptions on the night. won a devastating pick during the Bears' possession in overtime, and LA marched to the winning field goal. Your quick analysis.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with this. The Bears definitely had opportunities to win this football game and chose to play the aggressive or take the aggressive approach opposed to the safe approach. At home, in cold weather, a little bit more unique, but we know Ben Johnson is a product of Dan Campbell, so are we really that surprised, number one? Number two, I think that if you just look at it and you see the turnover margin, you say, no wonder the Rams won this football game, because Caleb turned the ball over 3 times, Matt Stafford did not, and even though he made a miraculous throw like this to go into overtime, which was amazing, it gave me the biggest high in my living room after watching that.
14-yard touchdown pass in the history of the football.
Ain't that the truth? It was amazing. But then you have stuff like this where DJ Moore just stops running a route. And DJ Moore had one of the best games I think I've seen him play in a Bears uniform. I don't put that blame on Caleb at all. But the Bears could have played a little bit safer to go for that chip shot field goal. Instead, they tried to take the home run shot, and it worked against them.
And so the Rams advanced to play Seattle. The Broncos eliminated the Bills 33-30 in overtime. Bo Nix suffering a broken ankle at the end, and he's out. Jarrett Stidham will start for Denver against New England's defense. Do the Broncos have a chance?
No.
I don't. I'm with you. I don't think they do.
Jarrett Stidham's just not it. And I've heard so many people, Randy, that have gone on the air and said, Jarrett Stidham, he can work in this offense. Yeah. When has he worked?
Yeah, I think it's because Sean Payton is pumping him up, and people are thinking, Dick Vermeil said, we will rally around Kurt Warner and we will play good football. The odds weren't great that was going to happen. And I think it's the same thing. People see a coach and say, oh, he'd be starting for 3 or 4 other teams in the league. No, he wouldn't. Okay? If he was, then he would have been a Patriot or he would have been a Raider. But he's a Broncos backup. There's a reason that guys are backups, especially when they're free agents in the NFL. Nobody signs to be a backup. If there's an opening for an NFL quarterback to start, he's going to take it. And the thing is, there aren't 32 great quarterbacks in the world. And he's one of the other guys. He's not one of the best in football.
There's hardly 16 good quarterbacks in the world. And Jarrett Stidham, could you tell me before the season started? I shouldn't say you, because you probably could. To most people out there, they could not tell me that Jarrett Stidham was the backup to Bo Nix. No, I had to look it up. I couldn't even tell myself that Jarrett Stidham was backing up Bo Nix there.
So one other thing from that game, Josh Allen with 4 turnovers, including a fumble on Buffalo's last possession of the first half that led to a field goal, a fumble on their first possession of the second half. He was pounded on that play that led to another field goal. The Bills lost by 3, and Allen took all the blame. And I think this is one of those situations where he should.
Yeah, I love it, for one, because he kind of puts it, he puts his heart on the line. Mm-hmm. He puts his body on the line every single game. And he's not one typically to turn the football over. So in those final 2 minutes of the half and then the next 2 minutes of the second half, you can say, hey, I carry that weight with me. I think the Bills as a group do a really nice job. Like Deion Dawkins was crying over the fact that Josh was taking all the blame. That just goes to show the type of leader Allen is to that locker room.
And I'll tell you what, there are 27 teams in the league that would love to have Josh Allen as their starting quarterback. At Seattle, the Seahawks dismantled the 49ers 41-6. San Francisco, they weren't going to be able to get past all the injuries. At some point, it was going to catch up to them, and it did. If you have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa in this game, it wouldn't have been 41-6, I can tell you that. Everything just went against the 49ers in this game, and Seattle is really, really good. And then in yesterday's other game in the AFC, C.J. Stroud, 4 first-half interceptions, and the Patriots were only mildly threatened in a 28-16 New England win. Patriots are back in the AFC Championship game for the first time in 7 years.
You kind of wonder with C.J. Stroud, too, after that rookie season, if we've been blinded by some of the woes that have come after. He's on the last year of his deal. Does he get a contract, or do they make him work for his contract? Or do they make him work for it and then possibly even franchise tag him to make him work again?
I thought Troy Aikman made a great point. He said they fired Bobby Slowick, and he's been chasing what he did in his rookie year since then. They keep going through offensive coordinators for this kid. I don't know if it's his fault. I think they need to get a little bit of stability and get somebody who runs an offense that's reasonable for his talent.
Yeah, the other thing about that, too, is C.J. Stroud still finds his way into the playoffs.
Yeah, right. There you go.
If you're making the playoffs, that's a reason to be optimistic. And I know that some people will shoot down the optimistic Oscar. Heck, I shoot it down sometimes when people say, hey, the Bears had one of the best seasons that they've had in a long time. But guess what we're chasing? You're chasing a Super Bowl, and it's so hard to win a Super Bowl, so you have to take advantage of every single opportunity. Tell that to the Bills fan that's in the playoffs every year that can't win a Super Bowl, and that's why you have to find the guy that can close for you. So if the Texans believe that C.J. Stroud can be that guy, then you have to invest around him, and you have to put the right person in the building to guide him.
And no Tank Dell, no Nico Collins, right? He had and we're in the business, and he had receivers that we've never heard of.
It's a bunch of Iowa State guys.
Yeah, right. In the NFL coaching carousel, the Giants officially hired John Harbaugh. He gets a 5-year, $100 million contract. And rather than report to general manager Joe Shane, like the previous coach, Brian Daboll, did, Harbaugh will report to owner John Mara. He reported to the owner in Baltimore, too. The Falcons hired former Browns coach Kevin Stefanski, and the Packers extended the contract of coach Matt LaFleur. I kind of think that all of the other organizations that don't have coaches, and they're all pretty bad, they're kind of hung out to dry. They're rolling the dice on a new coach.
Oh, and I think you kind of have to do that, too, if you're like a team like the Cleveland Browns. Because do you really want to take somebody's leftovers? Do you really want to take Mike McDaniel, which could work there in Cleveland? Or do you want to go with that fresh face that could be the next Kevin Stefanski that kind of leads you to greatness? I love all three hires here. I think the Falcons nailed it with Kevin Stefanski. I think the Giants nailed it with Harbaugh. And I really think the Green Bay did the right thing by keeping
100%.
LaFleur.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You don't get rid of a coach that's won twice as many games as he's lost. We mentioned earlier that SLU hammered Richmond. Mizzou lost to LSU, and the Illini took care of Minnesota. So here's the way they are in the rankings. In the NCAA net rankings, SLU 22nd, 29th in the KenPom analysis. Mizzou 66th in the net, 55th in KenPom, and Illinois 7th in net and 7th in KenPom rankings. So right now, all three teams would be in the tournament, although Mizzou would squarely be on the bubble.
Yeah, and Mizzou wouldn't go far in the tournament based on how we know the tournament shakes out in terms of efficiency, whether it's offensive or defensive efficiency, and they just don't have it defensively. They're like the 98th best team in basketball in defensive efficiency. Meanwhile, SLU, they are close to being a top 40 offensive team and close to being a top 25 defensive team. That recipe is like the winner of the last 25 NCAA national championships. Will SLU win the title? Probably not, just because they don't have the overall talent to compete with everybody else, but that doesn't mean they can't go far and go on a magical Cinderella run.
All right, those are our weekend highlights. Coming up in the list, the best college championship games ever here in The Fight. It's time for the list, and with the national championship game between Indiana and Miami tonight, we give you our favorite national championship games of all time. And Andrew, my number 3 is one of the great games of all time. I was rooting against Texas. They were such jerks to Mizzou in the Big 12. So that's why it's number 3 for me, because the Longhorns won. But there's no doubt the 2005 championship game win over USC was one of the most compelling games ever. The Trojans had Heisman Trophy winners Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. They were the favorite, and they had a super talented team coached by Pete Carroll. But Texas had one guy that could beat them all. USC led 24-23 entering the fourth when a Bush touchdown expanded the lead. But Vince Young, who would account for 467 yards by himself in the game, ran for 2 late touchdowns, getting them close to with 4:01 to go here. And then the iconic game winner right there with 19 seconds left to give Texas an incredible 41-38 victory. Texas wins it. Vince Young won it, right?
Right.
Texas, everybody else got rings, but Vince Young gets the touchdown and the two-point conversion and the confetti. He was the MVP of the Rose Bowl. What an incredible game.
Gosh, Vince Young, he was so good. And he was so fun to watch. And that whole game itself was set up beautifully for just the college football fan. You did not need to be a true fan of USC or of Texas. You just had to like football because of the big names that were on that stage. And then you get the shootout, a 41-38 shootout. That is the perfect start to this list.
And by the way, even if Texas would not have won that game, ultimately they would have won that game because USC had to vacate because of Reggie Bush getting a house from a USC booster. So they would have won anyway.
Yeah, man, talk about what NIL could have been back in 2005 for those three.
For those guys, no doubt about it.
All right, my number 3. The last BCS National Championship game featured the team that I was a big fan of at the time, Florida State. And a quick story here. As a kid, I watched SportsCenter every morning, specifically only wanting to watch top 10 plays. And I saw a play made by Kelvin Benjamin, it might have been Rashad Green, which instantaneously made me a fan of that team. And plus, they were good. And, you know, kids cheer for winners. So that's why I was an FSU fan for a hot minute. And that season was great for young Andrew. Jameis Winston won the Heisman Trophy, and the national championship was exceptional. After trailing 21-3, the Seminoles scored late after a successful fake punt. That was kind of that thank goodness drive. And then they needed it. Given the third quarter was quieter than an empty church. Then the magical fourth quarter happened, and Florida State took the lead 27-24 when Levante Whitfield took the ensuing kickoff 100 yards for a touchdown. So this is right after Auburn got 3 points. And all of a sudden, now Florida State leads this football game 31-27 with 1:19 remaining. But, then it came pretty close down to the wire because Auburn went to score. I believe it was this play right here where you can't tackle in the secondary. And then, hey, we are in the end zone. So Auburn is back on top with just like a minute to play. So let Jameis Winston, the Heisman winner, come all the way back with his team. Play action, Kelvin Benjamin in the end zone. And if he's the one that started Andrew's fandom, why not complete Andrew's fandom here with 13 seconds on the clock? That actually ended the streak of SEC champions. I think it was 7 in a row at the time. And Jameis Winston had something to say about it. And that was the 2013 Natty.
And Jameis Winston was a great college football player. I really thought that he'd be better in the NFL than he was because he was that dominant in college. And by the way, I thought Kelvin Benjamin would have a better NFL career than he had too.
I would say this, though. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks out there, Randy, that can say they had a 30-30 season.
Right.
And so Jameis Winston is the best to ever have a 30-30 season. Just don't look at what the second half of that 30 means.
Andrew, my number 2 is from the 2001 season, and it's more performative than from the competitiveness of the game. Miami beat Nebraska in the Rose Bowl to win the national championship, and the game was a rout, 37-14. It was 34-0 at the half. But here's what happened. The Hurricanes, Ken Dorsey to Andre Johnson for 50 yards and a touchdown. Was Miami done? No. Next possession, Clinton Portis, 39 yards, touchdown. Watch Clinton Portis, whoop, whoop. Oh my. Come on, somebody talk about having to tackle. Nebraska has to tackle. Portis is into the end zone for another score. Next possession for Nebraska, James Lewis with the interception. He's going to go 47 for a score. All of a sudden, it's 21-0 in favor of Miami over Nebraska. And then Dorsey to Jeremy Shockey for 21 yards and another touchdown. And as cool as the performance was, as we watched that season unfold, we had an idea as to how good Miami was. Ken Dorsey was fine at quarterback, but how about this? The running backs on that team were all really good NFL backs. Frank Gore, Portis, Willis McGahee, Najee Davenport. Among their tight ends and receivers, Shockey, Hall of Famer Andre Johnson, and Kellen Winslow II. Also on that roster, Bryant McKinney, great offensive tackle, Vince Wilfork, Ed Reed, Philip Buchanan, Jonathan Vilma, Antrell Roll, 17 first-rounders, a couple of Hall of Famers in Johnson and Reed. Might have been the most talented team in college history. 2019 LSU might want a word. They went unbeaten and put on a show in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, that softens the blow a little bit as a Nebraska fan when you rattle off all of those names. You also mentioned a Rams legend on Nebraska's side there, Eric Crouch,
yeah.
Heisman Trophy winner. That guy played a lot of games here in St. Louis and I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to get my years right. This was the start of Frank Solich, right? This was on the back half or the back end of T.O. over to Frank Solich.
Exactly.
And then Nebraska said, Frank Solich isn't our guy. We're just going to move on from them. And they were cursed for all eternity because Solich was and should have been their guy.
And still, by the way, Miami's last national championship, and they go to the game again tonight.
Yeah, pretty excited to watch that team back at the big stage. Okay, my number 2. I guess I love fourth quarter comebacks, Randy, because my number 2 takes us back to 2017. Clemson trailed Alabama 24-14 going into the fourth. And after blowing a fourth quarter lead themselves to Bama, I think that game might actually pop up on this list. Clemson gave the Crimson Tide a taste of their own medicine. Let's play it. We're jumping to when Watson finds Jordan Leggett on a pass down to the Tide 9-yard line, and then that was a pass interference call in the end zone with Mike Williams. You go all the way to the final play here where the walk-on Hunter Renfrow completes the comeback with 1 second left on the clock. Watson, I mean, boy, did he ball out in this football game. He looked tremendous. Clemson wins the national championship. Watson wins MVP. He set the record for most passing yards in a championship game, breaking the record of 405 yards the year before. He had 420 in this football game. And then the onside kick. What was Alabama doing? Like, you could have recovered that kick and possibly had a chance for a Hail Mary to win that football game. But that front line just did not want to jump on the football.
No, and this shocked everybody because we thought that Nick Saban and Alabama were invincible, right? And Clemson, Dabo does a great job. Dabo doesn't do such a great job anymore. And how good was Deshaun Watson?
Oh, he was great in college. He was fantastic. He was. It kind of shocked me when we got to the draft and he wasn't like the #1 overall pick. That's how weird it was after watching him play college football.
Yeah. All right, number 1 for me, and you mentioned that this would come up, the 2015 championship, Alabama 45, Clemson 40. It turned out to be Derrick Henry versus Deshaun Watson. Game started fast and never really slowed down. Henry, a 50-yard run midway through the first quarter. He was an amazing college player. But let's come back to Clemson. Deshaun Watson hitting the aforementioned Hunter Renfrow for scores before the period ended. In the second quarter, we moved to that. Henry scores the only touchdown, and we've got a 14-14 game at the half. This is the other Hunter Renfrow score from Deshaun Watson, 14-7 Clemson. And we're thinking, okay, Clemson, are they going to do it again? But Derrick Henry, who has turned out to be a pretty good NFL back himself, just plows through and makes it 14-14. And then the wildness in the second half. A lot of field goals interspersed. But Jacob Coker to O.J. Howard. Touchdown for Alabama. Kind of wide open there for the tight end, and Bama has the lead. Wayne Gallman, a short TD run to come back for Clemson. So the Tigers are back in it. Okay, Coker to Howard again. First one went for 53 yards. And now Jacob Coker, the Alabama quarterback for this championship squad, is going to hit for 51, a 53-yard touchdown pass, and now this, a 51-yard touchdown pass to O.J. Howard. After a Clemson field goal, though, Clemson wasn't able to stop on special teams. Kenyon Drake also made it to the NFL, 95 yards on the kickoff return for Alabama, and look at him go. Watch the burst of speed for Kenyon Drake. Whew. And whoosh, yeah, he's got that little whoosh to him.
Acceleration at its finest.
Yeah. But that didn't end the game because Watson came back for the Clemson Tigers, and he hits Artavis Scott for a touchdown. And the game is still in the balance. Henry, his third touchdown of the game on the ensuing possession for Alabama. Derrick Henry was amazing. This is the Scott touchdown, and bing, bang, boom, we're in. And then let's come back to Derrick Henry, who's going to score again. And we've just got wildness here in the fourth quarter. The aforementioned Jordan Leggett also caught a touchdown pass. Watson was unbelievable on this night. He was 30 of 47 for 405 yards and 4 touchdowns. Henry had 36 carries for 158 and 3 scores. Alabama wins it 45-41 over Clemson. Whew!
Yeah, woo indeed, because I'm over here and my stomach is just bouncing, right, because of the highs and lows of that excitement of that football game. Derrick Henry was amazing in college, and what he looks like today in the NFL is a spitting image of what he looked like in college. It's like he was always that big and strong. And then you mentioned just all of the other names that you see on that list. Coker, though, is the one that I did not remember.
One of these things is not like the other.
Exactly.
Like, right, you can remember Greg McElroy. You can remember A.J. McCarron, Tua, Hurts.
You skip over Coker.
Who's Jacob Coker?
Yeah, you skip right over that year, and you go straight to Jalen Hurts. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts here for my number one, Randy, because I want to join the Alabama train for this final one. Can you think of anything weirder than sitting your national championship starting quarterback for a true freshman backup just because the first half didn't go as planned? Well, that's what Nick Saban did. And it actually worked. But it didn't look like it was going to work for a while there, because after trailing 13-0 at the half, Tua came in for Hurts and goes 3 and out. And then he also threw a pick right after Georgia went up 20-7. But the Alabama D stepped up, so did Tua. And with about 4 to play, Tua led a game-tying drive. So we go to overtime after this 4th down touchdown. And in overtime is where everything kind of got a little crazy, because on Alabama's first offensive play, Tua was sacked for a 16-yard loss. And that play made, well, I guess the play that made his career followed. A game-winning 41-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. Game over. The Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith, is the champion.
Do you think, I kind of do, because I thought Tua was going to be a good NFL quarterback, and remember the phrase tank for Tua, and teams did, but Burrow had the unbelievable year, so Tua wound up going, I think, 5th in the draft. I thought he was going to be an NFL quarterback, and I wonder if the injury in college and then the subsequent injuries and concussions in the NFL have prevented him from being great, or maybe he was just never going to be great.
Yeah, I think he is a very good quarterback. And I will say I lean more on the injury argument than I lean on, hey, you're not a very good quarterback. Because some of those concussions that guy has been put through, I mean, there's times where he gets up and he can't even walk. That's how crazy it's been for him in his career. But he also had a really nice 4,000-yard season. We've seen him perform really well when he has a healthy Tyreek Hill and some good weapons around him. But this is a guy that just can't stay healthy anymore, so he won't ever have another good NFL season.
And hopefully tonight's game is as good as those. That is the list here on The Fight. And next up, we're going to build a parlay right here on Matrix Midwest. Hey, with bitter cold weather like we have right now, it can be so easy to feel chest pain while you're outdoors and think it's because of the cold. But if that pain is sharp, or if it persists when you get inside, make sure you call St. Luke's Heart and Vascular Center and do me a favor and get checked. I'll admit, I waited too long when I had chest pain, thinking that my chest pain was something that would just go away. Well, finally, it took me to be out of breath walking in the cold weather into the dome to realize I had a heart problem, and St. Luke's repaired me. Their heart doctors are the best in the region. St. Luke's is the only hospital in the area to have an alliance with the Cleveland Clinic Heart, Vascular, and Thoracic Institute. They offer expedited appointments with your heart specialists if you're looking for a second opinion. Your heart diagnosis deserves a second look, and you deserve to feel confident in your treatment plan. At St. Luke's Heart and Vascular Institute, they pour their hearts into taking care of yours. Call 314-205-6801 today for world-class compassionate treatment, or go to stlukes-stl.com. All right, with the college football season closing, we've got an opportunity to build one more college football parlay here in a risky business. And I'm thinking Indiana's going to win, and I'm thinking Fernando Mendoza is going to have a good game, but I'm not betting on Mendoza. I'm betting on Mendoza because I'm going to be a little bit of a high flyer here, Andrew.
Okay.
I think he's going to
love this.
And you've got the line here. Omar Cooper at plus 135 to score a touchdown. Boom, I'm going with him.
Start.
And the line is?
The line is 7.5, which opened.
I mean the line about Omar Cooper.
Oh, Omar's coming. Omar's coming. If you're a fan of The Wire, Omar's coming. I thought you meant the actual betting line, which made a lot of sense for the segment.
Yeah.
So great play on words by you. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to actually talk about the betting line now, and maybe if Omar is coming, so is Indiana to their first national championship.
I would say so, yeah.
Holy cow. So this line opened at 7.5, and Randy had already jumped to 8.5. That's how busy the sports book is this morning. And I told you before coming in that I liked Indiana at 7.5, and I liked Miami at 8.5. So I'm going to take Miami at 8.5 now.
Ooh, wow.
I'm going to take the Hurricanes. I liked Indiana if it got to that 7, but I like Miami more at 8.
Okay, so we're talking about a 27-20 game, maybe?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Over-under 47.5?
Yeah,
so.
I actually think the under is a better play than the over, even though the book likes the over.
Yeah, well, 27, I could see 27-20 in a game like this. Although Indiana blows everybody out. I don't know why I say that.
That's true, too.
Right?
This could easily be 41-3.
Yeah. So what do we? Oh, $510 payout. It's pretty good. All you need to do is follow us and build a parlay, and hopefully we'll do well. We'll tell you next show, by the way, how we did. That's Risky Business here in The Fight. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It, plus story time with Uncle Randy, and today in sports history is a good one. It's next here on Matrix Midwest. All right, it's time now for Take It or Leave It, and this was Bills coach Sean McDermott on the controversial interception of Josh Allen in overtime of Saturday's playoff game at Denver. And McDermott basically said, hey, I just want him to take a little bit more time. I don't know if they got it right or not. I think we deserve more time after working since July to do this. So take it or leave it. In the playoffs, NFL coaches should be able to rip the officials without being fined.
I will absolutely take that. 100%.
But they should be able to say whatever they want.
I think during the regular season, it should be free. It's open season all the time.
I don't disagree with that at all. But once you get to the playoffs and you've worked since July and you get screwed over and you think that, okay, all I'm asking for is a little bit more time. Be a little bit more, just a little bit more detailed in the way you review. And they didn't even try.
No. And you should be able to be open and honest about everything. And you know what? Sean McDermott makes a ton of money. So he doesn't even care.
Right? Yeah, no doubt about it.
Most guys don't care. So that catch in particular is what I want to focus on for mine as well, Randy, because as you mentioned, Brandon Cooks had that ball ripped out of his hands after going to the ground, knee to the ground, all the things. It was called a Denver pick. Then the same thing happened on Sunday. So Devontae Adams had it ripped away. The Bears came up with it, but this time it was ruled down. My take it or leave it is understanding the rules of football is impossible.
I will 100% take that. Yeah, you never have any idea. And I don't think the officials have any idea.
Right, and that's how subjective it is. And this is why I said, not that it was the right or the wrong call. Because if you want to go with it being a pick all the time, then be a pick. The fact that you can't decipher when they both look the exact same, Adams catches it, doesn't make a football move or anything, gets it ripped away, still called a catch because his knee was down, and Cooks doesn't get that call in just 16 hours earlier, I can't understand football.
If you have the ball in your arms and your butt hits the ground, what else can it be? You're down, right?
Yeah, and it was knee, then cheek.
Yeah.
He had them both.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So that's take it or leave it. And now it's time for story time with Uncle Randy. Andrew is going to spin the wheel for a decade, and then we'll come up with a sport for you. And I will come up with a little story. And we're going to start with the 2000s. So we're 2000 to 2009 here. And whatever sport, I'm not worried about it. 2000 to 2009. And we're going to do a little...
stops on baseball.
Baseball. Okay. 2000 to 2009.
Too bad there weren't any good years in St. Louis.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know what I'll do, though? 2000 to 2009.
Tell me.
So the Cardinals were really good in 2000, went to the NLCS. Went to the they went to the playoffs in 2001. That was McGuire's last year. They lost to Arizona. They go back to the NLCS in 2002 and lose to the Giants. 2003, in September, the Cardinals go into Chicago with a chance to compete with the Cubs. They have a chance to go to the playoffs for, 2001, 2, 3, it would have been the fourth straight year. Doubleheader, Wrigley Field, and Sammy Sosa, of all people, hits a game-winning home run to do-in the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals get swept in the doubleheader, and that pretty much does them in. And the Cardinals have had so many great moments at Wrigley Field. So many moments where they have won divisions or come close to winning divisions or had magical moments like McGuire hitting 3 home runs or Pujols hitting 3 home runs. Man, was it devastating in 2003 to have them go into Wrigley. And Sammy Sosa, of all people, was the one who beat them in that doubleheader in September.
Yeah, for it to happen there, right? It could have been anywhere else.
Yeah.
It could have been any other stadium, any other player.
Any other player.
It had to be Sammy Sosa at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, and by the way, the Cubs were good that year, but that was also the year of Bartman. So it wound up working out well
Yes,
for Cardinal
it was.
fans because the Florida Marlins wound up beating the Cubs, coming home. Well, the Cubs were coming home. And the Marlins go into Chicago. They win Game 6. Thank you, Steve Bartman. They win Game 7. And the Marlins not only went on to win the National League pennant, but they beat the Yankees in the World Series that year.
And I think Bartman should have had Walkmans banned from all fans going into Wrigley Field after this.
Yeah.
Walkmans still allowed.
Yeah.
Take off the headset, buddy.
Yep, there it is. So
I love it.
That very easily could have been the Cardinals. If the Cardinals do something in that series in September at Wrigley, they could have been that team that had a fan interfere with the ball.
No, St. Louis fans too smart.
Win.
Too smart to reach over the wall like that.
That is Story Time with Uncle Randy. And now it's time for this date in sports history. And on this date in 1983, on the heels of the Cardinals winning the World Series, Ozzie Smith signs an extension that makes him the first $1 million a year shortstop in the history of baseball. Now, you got Mookie Betts playing short. You've got Francisco Lindor making $340 million. You've got some shortstops that are making a few more dollars than $1 million a year. But 1983, this was the date that the Cardinals locked down Ozzie for the long term.
So 1983, $1 million is today's $340 million?
Well, no, 34 million. 1 million then would have been.
Oh, okay, 34.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lindor's got a 10-year,
Got it.
34. So yeah, 1 million then is 34 now.
Yeah, I'm sure you liked making $1 million annually.
Yeah, not bad. And boy, isn't this
He
just
deserved it.
unbelievable how good he was. Let's watch one more Ozzie play. Ken Daly on the mound, and there's, how about, boom, dive, completely off the ground.
So good.
He was just outrageously good. The best to ever play defense in the history of Major League Baseball. And by the way, I mentioned on the heels of the Cardinals winning the '82 World Series, not only did the Cardinals have the best defensive shortstop in the history of the game on that team, they had the best defensive first baseman in the history of the game on that team in Keith Hernandez. Best defensive infield I've ever seen, and a lot of people think best defensive infield ever. Ken Oberg fell at third, Ozzie at short, Tom Herr at second, Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're a starting pitcher, or even a relief pitcher for that matter, you really liked going onto the mound thinking, if I get a ground ball, I know it's a for sure out.
Yeah, and by the way, I need to talk more to Ollie and Haim. We've tossed out my idea of the Cardinals moving their fences back and building a whitey ball team. They just need a few more details, and I'll get my way eventually.
Yeah, well, the infrastructure will be there once that Royals Stadium is built, right? Yeah. Then they'll move the walls
That's
back.
right, yeah. We're on the air at 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then at 7 again every morning, 7 a.m. every morning here on Matrix Midwest. Tell your friends about us. And you can always find us on the KMOV app and the Matrix Midwest app. And, of course, at matrixmidwest.com, you can sign up to participate in the fight. Great job, as always, by Andrew Rogers.
Great job by you. I didn't cry today.
And a great job by our outstanding director, Tyler Klaus. I'm Randy Carricker, and we hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you next time here in The Fight.